Hey there. Today we are going to talk about plants and you will be introduced to a biological process called photosynthesis. You know that plants are living organisms that grow in the ground, such that their stem and leaves are above the soil, and their roots below. In this session we are going to study the mode of nutrition of plants, meaning, how plants get their organic nutrients in order to grow and reproduce. Organic nutrients, including carbohydrates, lipids and proteins, are essential for energy production. They are essential for any living organism to survive. Even though these organic substances are needed by green plants, however, they can grow if provided with inorganic substances only, such as water and minerals, and of course, in the presence of sunlight as will be shown. Look at the adjacent figure. The green plant was kept in sunlight, provided with water and minerals only. It was not given organic substance, that is it was not provided with carbohydrates, proteins or lipids. And you can see that the plant survived and is very satisfied and healthy. But if you look at the deer, you can notice that under the same conditions, this animal will die. I want to remind you that both organisms need organic substances in order to survive. So, my question is, formulate a hypothesis to explain the observed results in the green plants. In other words, how do you think the plant was able to get organic substances in order to survive? Pause the video and try to answer. If we think about it, the plants are most probably using the inorganic substances, that is the water and minerals in order to synthesize organic substances. So, my own hypothesis would be, plants can synthesize their own organic nutrients from inorganic ones. Note that you might have a different hypothesis, but it should be scientific and of course logical. Anyway, this is only a hypothesis and not a proven fact, so I need to know if it is valid or not. So, to validate this hypothesis, an experiment will be performed as follows. A plant was grown in an inorganic nutritive medium containing water and minerals only. And, after placing the plant in light for a few hours, one leaf was taken, and this leaf was subjected to iodine test, as you can see in the figure. Before going into the experiment details, I want to remind you that iodine test is done to test for the presence of starch, which is a carbohydrate, that is an organic substance. Now back to the experiment steps. The leaf was boiled in ethanol to remove the grain color of the leaf and allow the iodine to enter the plant cells. And then the leaf was removed from the ethanol and was washed to remove any remaining traces of this alcohol. After that, the yellowish leaf is put on a petri dish, and iodine solution was added. Instantly, dark blue color was observed. I will now ask you a question, think about it. Is your previously formulated hypothesis validated? Justify your answer. Pause the video and try to answer. Hope you answered correctly. Let us look at the answer. Yes, my hypothesis is validated, because the plant was only provided with inorganic substances, water and minerals. However, the iodine test gave dark blue color indicating the presence of starch, which is organic. Thus, the plant can synthesize its own organic substances from inorganic molecules. Now, I want to give you some notes on how to answer such a question, of course based on the Lebanese curriculum. I have started answering by saying, yes, because this is the answer of the first part of the question. And then I justified. Of course the justification should include the conditions, and relate these conditions to the obtained results. After mentioning the conditions and results, I have to write what such results indicate or prove, that is in this case, the dark blue color indicated the presence of starch. Finally, at the end of the answer, I have to write the conclusion, which should be the same as my hypothesis only if my hypothesis is valid, otherwise, the conclusion would be different. Now I'm going to show you an animated experiment. In this video, you will see how the presence of starch is detected in green leaves.
Do you know that leaves of plants produce glucose through photosynthesis? The excess glucose is then converted into starch, which is the reserved food material in plants. Let us do a small experiment to test the presence of starch in leaves. We need a leaf, boiling water, alcohol, iodine solution, test tube, spirit lamp. Take a leaf from a plant that has been exposed to sunlight for several hours. Place the leaf in boiling water. This will kill the leaf, disrupt the cell membrane, and soften the cell walls, allowing the iodine to enter the cells and react. Now put the leaf in a test tube and cover it with alcohol. Keep the test tube in the boiling water. The chlorophyll slowly dissolves into the alcohol. Note that alcohol turns green. Removal of chlorophyll will help us observe the color change of iodine clearly. Place the bleached leaf in a petri dish. Pour iodine solution over it. Note the color of the leaf. It changes to dark green. This is because iodine combines with starch present in the leaf and forms a violet-colored complex. This shows that starch is present in leaves.
So, now we can say that the process of synthesizing organic nutrients from inorganic molecules in the presence of light is called photosynthesis. But, do all organisms undergo photosynthesis? Watch this video to find an answer to this question. This will give you an idea about the classification of living organisms based on their ability to undergo photosynthesis or not.
Plants are generally autotrophs, which means they make their own food. To be more specific, they make organic substances, such as glucose, from inorganic substances, such as carbon dioxide. If talking about plants, their source of energy to do this is light. Plants are also known as producers. Their food is glucose, an organic substance which they produce in the process of photosynthesis by using inorganic substances such as carbon dioxide. Oh, and even the plants known as carnivorous plants still produce their own food using photosynthesis. It's just that carnivorous plants can also digest insects to obtain nitrogen. Nitrogen is an important element that living organisms need, and it turns out that most carnivorous plants live in areas where there is low nitrogen in the soil. Along with plants, some protists are autotrophs, some bacteria, and some archaea are too. Now, it's also possible that an organism itself can be both an autotroph and a heterotroph. In our protist video, we talk about euglena. Euglena can do photosynthesis as autotrophs, but they can also be heterotrophs and consume organic matter in cases where light is not available. So far, we've been pretty general with showing examples of heterotrophs and autotrophs. But what if I told you that it can get a lot fancier? And we're going to go into some more depth, but we want to point out that you can still get into more depth than we'll be getting into. Check out the further reading details for more. And as always, there are fascinating exceptions in biology that we can't include in such a short video. So we gave a general description that autotrophs make their own food. That is, they make organic substances from inorganic substances, and heterotrophs instead must consume food, meaning they must consume organic substances. If you remember from our biomolecules video, the molecules that make up life, they all have carbon. So the source for carbon is important. Autotrophs and heterotrophs obtain carbon differently. Autotrophs generally use an inorganic source of carbon to make their food. Heterotrophs instead must get their carbon from organic sources that they consume.
To summarize the classification of organisms according to their mode of nutrition, that is their ability or inability to undergo photosynthesis, we can say that living organisms are classified into two groups: autotrophs and heterotrophs. An autotroph is a living organism that can produce its own organic nutrients from inorganic molecules by a process known as photosynthesis. While a heterotroph is the living organism that needs to consume both inorganic, as well as, organic molecules in their food in order to survive, because these organisms cannot undergo photosynthesis. This is all for this session. We will continue next time.